a memory of a boy trapped and terrified. He recalls all the times he was afraid, all the anguish and all the rage. Every painful moment was a strike, forging the person he is today. And now he's in a therapy session. This is Kasai Mura, our protagonist. His doctor is impressed with his recovery. Kasai offers a strained word of thanks, but as the clock strikes, he's already leaving. The doctor asks to see him again next week, but Kasai gives a vague excuse about university. He's out the door before she can even finish. Still, she seems pleased with his progress. Outside, Kasai scoffs at the idea of improvement. He lights a cigarette, his gaze hardening, but his quiet moment is quickly interrupted. A group of well-dressed thugs have found him. Their leader mocks him for needing therapy. Kasai turns, asking what Sung-min wants. Sung-min says the old man wants to know why he left. He reminds Kasai that the boss had a soft spot for him. Even when he was just a kid talking about souls, he sneers that Kasai has always been a nutcase. All that therapy seems to have given him a zen-like calm. Sung-min's face darkens, warning that there are consequences. Kasai simply flicks his cigarette away and dares them to try and stop him. A manic grin spreads across Sung-min's face, but from a rooftop above, a new player watches the scene. The next day, Kasai heads out from his apartment. He's still thinking about the old man sending Sung-min, but his thoughts are interrupted by a cheerful greeting. An older woman asks if it's his first day of university. It's his neighbor, Mrs. Chow, who's made him a celebratory lunch. He tries to politely refuse, but she insists. Inside is a box filled with delicious-looking dumplings. And just like that, our hardened protagonist melts completely. He bows deeply, thanking her over and over again. She smiles, mentioning they were her son's favorite. Kasai smiles, remarking that her son had good taste. He promises to bring her something back from Soho, but her husband bursts in with a very specific request, a classic marital dispute over cake and dental health. As Kasai walks away, they continue to bicker over his dessert. He turns back with a genuine smile, thanking them both. The couple watches him leave, seeing a reflection of their own son. They know he's been through a lot and just wanted to show him some kindness. And with that small act of love, he steps toward his new life. But the past is never far behind, a memory of fire and loss. The official story was a gas leak, his visions dismissed as trauma. But Kasai was certain of what he saw, even if no one would believe a traumatized child. After 10 years of searching for answers, he thought he'd moved on. So why are the memories returning now? He desperately tries to push them away. Clenching his fist with resolve, his dark and violent past must stay behind him. He runs toward the future, declaring his own rebirth, only to be defeated by his one true nemesis, calculus. A loud thump jolts Kasai from his sleep. He sits up, wondering what the noise is. He presses his ear to the wall, thinking of the juice, but the sound he hears is far from normal. A sharp crack rings out and his eyes widen. That wasn't a movie. That was a gunshot. He considers calling the police, but then stops himself. The memory of being dismissed as a child resurfaces. He can't bear the thought of being wrong again, but he'll use a craving for cake as an excuse to check. Kasai cautiously opens his door to investigate, but someone is already banging on the Chu's door. A man in a strange outfit demands to be let inside. Kasai freezes, a cold sweat breaking out because he recognizes the glint of that blade. But before he can act, shots tear through the door. Kasai can only stare in utter shock. The attacker is stopped dead in his tracks. As he falls, a voice from inside complains about the mess. The shooter wonders if he's at the wrong apartment. He turns, wondering who the hell this kid is, but Kasai's fear is already turning into fury. The gunman doesn't hesitate to take aim, but our boy is already lunging forward. He grabs the weapon with a powerful grip, and in one swift motion, he disarms him. He follows up with a brutal right hook. So much for that zen-like calm from therapy. The man is sent crashing to the floor, but another figure emerges from the shadows, calmly addressing Kasai by name. The white-haired man says he was worried he had the wrong address, but inside Mr. Cho lies injured on the floor, and Mrs. Cho is in the same terrible state. The cake he promised them is smashed amidst the wreckage. Kasai's eyes burn with a cold, silent rage. Another thug appears, warning that there's no escape. He raises his weapon to fire, but Kasai is already moving. The man's smug expression turns to pure shock as Kasai delivers a kick that's definitely not university approved. Unleashing the full force of his violent past, the white-haired man takes a brutal hit to the face. Kasai looms over him, accusing him of harming innocents. The scene flashes back to a different time, to another opponent who simply gave up. Back in the present, the villain grins through the blood. He finally understands the legend of the Reaper. He claims he was the one who always cleaned up Kasai's messes, and now he says he finally gets it. But he's not done yet, pulling a hidden knife because apparently everyone in this line of work carries one. He grins through the blood, calling himself the executioner, but his attack is stopped cold by an unseen blade. Kasai looks up, completely stunned by the intervention. The white-haired man is pinned to the floor, neutralized, and through the broken window, a new silhouette appears. A smoking gun barrel hints at another player in the game. Two new figures emerge, remarking on the close call. Kasai can only stare, demanding to know who they are. The man casually replies that they're the ones who saved his life. He recognizes their outfits match the Man Sung-min shot. Kasai demands to know what they're doing here, but the scene shifts to a memory of a younger boy reaching for a blade. A voice warns him that touching it would be a fatal mistake. Nearby, a woman in a mask reports that she's found their target. The man she's speaking to, Rain, seems less than thrilled by the news. He tells her to prepare the target for extraction despite being short-handed. They're out of time as the target's soul is already on the move. The boy's eyes widen at the mention of a soul, and the man who just saved Kasai in the present steps into the past. He approaches the young Kasai, offering a compliment on his fighting style. Young Kasai demands to know what they meant by souls. The man seems impressed by his directness and his soul density. Kasai is completely lost, asking what he's talking about. The stranger checks his watch, saying he'll keep it brief. As his watch glows, he explains that they're assassins who kill twice. First, they take out the physical body just like he did to Kasai's attacker. Kasai listens, his expression unreadable. The second time, he says, is to destroy their soul and prevent reincarnation. He gestures to a memory of a hooded figure, admitting it's a lot to take in. But he offers a deal since Kasai clearly has a grudge and he needs a hand. The man offers him a chance to go to the world beyond, to the soul realm, to kill their target one last time. But Kasai only cares about one thing, proof that souls exist. With a fire in his eyes, he demands to be shown. The woman, however, thinks involving an outsider is a mistake, but her partner insists they're on a tight schedule. Besides, he says, the kid's soul is strong enough for the jump. She checks her readings, shocked by his immense soul density. The man taps Kasai, asking if he's ready to go. He explains that he needs a partner for this little soul jaunt. He explains that a strong soul density is needed to anchor each other. But with his partner out of commission, the jump is much riskier. He admits this is far from ideal, then asks if Kasai is in. Young Kasai explodes, calling the entire story completely insane. He mocks the sci-fi jargon, demanding to know who they even are. The stranger just looks down at the furious kid, unfazed. He cuts him off, saying he doesn't have time to argue. He offers a simple trade, answers for his cooperation. He reminds Kasai of his one burning question. And after years of being haunted, our boy needs to know the truth. If these strangers are telling the truth, then after a lifetime of searching, he's finally in. The man, Rain, seems amused by his sudden enthusiasm. He claps his hands, ready to give the newbie a show. The woman Selena looks less than thrilled with the plan, but she warns Rain not to make her regret this as she begins the process. Rain just smirks, asking when he's ever let her down. Famous last words, buddy. A massive glowing sigil erupts on the floor beneath them. Kasai looks down in shock as a light bursts from his chest, and for the first time, he can feel the power of his own soul. Rain tells the kid that today is his lucky day, and with a blinding flash, the world around them shatters. Kasai can only stare, completely bewildered by the sudden shift. He clutches his chest in a panic as Rain congratulates him on his first jump. He calls Kasai a natural, though our boy seems to disagree. Rain simply reminds him that he asked for proof, welcoming him to the soul realm. And in that instant, Kasai realizes he wasn't crazy all this time. Rain smirks, asking if he's getting cold feet. But after everything he's endured, there's no chance of that. He just wants the answers he's been searching for his entire life. Rain promises to give him the answers he seeks, leaving Kasai completely stunned. But first, he needs a little help killing Sungmin's soul. Kasai panics, learning to stop him from falling. He clings to the edge, demanding Rain not to die on him, but Rain just reappears, casually standing on the side of the building. Physics is optional here. Kasai is already starting to regret this whole arrangement. Rain explains they have 15 minutes to finish the job, all while strolling down the skyscraper. He mentions the Soul Realm has different rules as a strange device materializes next to Kasai. The device speaks, revealing it's actually Selena. She's the Watcher, tasked with protecting their bodies while their souls are away, and she's already complaining that bringing Kasai was a terrible idea. Rain, however, tells her to be patient, deciding now is the perfect time for introductions. He's Rain Choi, an assassin for the Soul Hunter Association. Kasai just hangs there, trying to wrap his head around it all. Rain tells him he's ready when he is, as if they're just going for a stroll. Looking at his reflection, Kasai can only think that this is crazy, but he slowly plants his foot on the side of the building. His toes curl over the edge, the entire city sprawling beneath him. And with a surge of adrenaline, he stands up ready for whatever comes next. He cracks his neck, deciding to just roll with the insanity. He takes a step forward, walking along the skyscraper's edge. His initial fear is already giving way to resolve. Rain smirks, telling Selena she worries too much. He calls her pessimistic, clearly enjoying this. Kasai reminds him of their deal, but Rain says business first. He points out that their target, Sung Min, is already gone. He asks if Rain is seriously talking about reincarnation. Rain confirms it with a casual point to the sky. Guess that's a thing now. He explains Sung Min's soul has reincarnated over 40 times, each life more brutal than the last. Rain explains that across history, countless have suffered at his hand, and some people, he says, simply don't deserve a second chance. As red energy crackles around his arm, he continues, declaring that their job is to execute the unworthy. A glowing red sword materializes in his hand. Kasai is understandably a little freaked out. The guy just pulled a sword out of thin air. So much for a normal day. Selena's drone announces the target is detected as Rain asks if Kasai sees it. Kasai's eyes narrow, focusing on something high above, and there it is, a dark, corrupted soul hovering over the skyscraper. The target is revealed, a monstrous version of Sung Min. Kasai can only stare, asking if that's really him. Rain explains this is his soul's true form, telling Kasai to stay put. But Kasai is furious, arguing that he was brought here for a reason. He insists he knows how to fight Sung Min and can help. Rain just grins, telling him soul combat is a whole different game. But his condescending lecture is cut short as Selena's drone is hit. He whips his head around, realizing the target is on the move. Too late. Sung Min is already right behind him. Kasai can only scream out a warning, watching in horror. The monstrous Sung Min lashes out with a powerful tail strike, but Rain is already gone as the beast prepares its own attack. Rain unleashes a technique of his own, a bleeding crescent. The attack carves a massive gash across the skyscraper, but the monster is impossibly fast, dodging the blast. It slides across the glass, deflecting the residual energy, and comes to a grinding halt, completely unfazed. Rain lands, gracefully thanking the beast for saving him a trip. Young Min glares back, asking if he's ready to be destroyed. Rain simply gestures for him to bring it on. Rain just grins, reminding the beast that he's on a schedule. His red eyes narrow, ready to end this, but his focus is broken by Kasai charging into the fight. He shatters the monster's attack, ignoring Rain's furious shouts, and in a shocking move, he delivers a powerful kick to Rain. The monster can only watch, clearly not expecting this plot twist. Kasai grabs the stunned assassin before he can fall, only to deliver another brutal blow to his stomach. As Sungmin's tail comes crashing down on their position, Rain furiously demands to know what on earth he's doing. Rain complains about the ungrateful kick, but Selena's drone points out he was saving himself. Kasai can only wonder what the hell is going on. Meanwhile, Rain is busy fending off the monster's attacks. He decides a more proactive approach is needed, unleashing a powerful technique called Crimson Rise. He scans the area, searching for his hidden opponent. He realizes the monster is attacking from multiple floors at once. Just as he wishes for an easier target, a massive tendril comes crashing down from above. He blocks the strike, realizing it's a single direct attack, and uses it as a ramp to launch himself toward the source. He unleashes a powerful blood art technique, a devastating move called Piercing Fong. He smashes through the glass, explaining that gravity is normal outside. But once he touches the interior, the rules of physics are his to command. His blade materializes once more, ready for action. He finally spots his target waiting inside. A nearby wall begins to crack under immense pressure, and Sung Min bursts through with a furious roar. Rain faces the beast, getting a better look at him now. He smirks, offering a less than flattering critique of its appearance. Back on the sidelines, Kasai is getting tired of watching, but Selena's drone warns him that he'd only get himself killed. As the battle rages, Kasai realizes this is all too real. The drone confirms that if his soul is destroyed, he dies for good, but she tells him not to worry. Because Rain is one of the strongest hunters in the association, he unleashes a devastating slash with his blood-red blade. Tearing through the very fabric of the soul realm, the attack finds its mark, striking the beast's dead center. A digital clock appears, counting down the minutes. Rain flips through the air, dodging the beast's attack. He lands gracefully, complaining that he's on a tight schedule. His crimson energy swirls as he tells the monster to hold still, but Sung Min's soul form is seething with rage. He suddenly recognizes his opponent from the physical world. He analyzes Rain's unique blood-wielding abilities and realizes he probably can't win this fight alone. A little late for that, buddy. But as he scales the skyscraper, an idea begins to form because he's certain he saw someone else up there, and Kasai can only watch from the sidelines. As Sung Min's soul lets out a furious roar, his tail smashes into the rooftop, catching Rain by surprise. The assassin can only curse as he's thrown off balance. He's sent tumbling through the air, watching as the monster prepares another attack. But Rain uses his own power to dive straight down. Crashing through the skyscraper's glass ceiling, he shatters the pane with a powerful stomp, taking the fight to a whole new level, literally. Kasai looks up through the shattered glass, calling out for Rain, but his attention is immediately drawn to a new threat. He parries the attack with a blade of his own, his arm transformed. Sung Min's soul form roars, thrilled to get another shot at him. Kasai's eyes burn with rage as he finally recognizes his opponent. Rain lands nearby, complaining that Kasai is ignoring him for the monster. How rude. The beast growls, annoyed by the assassin's persistence. He demands to know why Rain is so bent on killing him. Rain simply explains that their job is to deliver justice for his many lifetimes of evil. Sung Min scoffs at the word, wondering why Kasai would ever help them. Sung Min's soul lets out a deranged, echoing laugh. He finds the idea of them delivering his punishment absurd. He claims that if anyone here deserves to be judged, it's the man standing right behind Rain. He goads Kasai, telling him to reveal his past as the Reaper. He rages about hypocrisy, but Rain has clearly heard enough. The assassin declares it's time to end this, refocusing on the mission. The monster's jaw snaps shut with pure fury. He lunges forward, calling the soul hunter a hypocrite. He screams that if he's going down, he's taking them with him. He declares that Kasai deserves to be judged right alongside him. Rain's eyes glow, asking the kid what his choice will be. The monster invites them to one final dance, but Rain is shocked to find he's being completely ignored. As the attack closes in, Rain screams for Kasai to move. But Kasai's gaze is distant, lost in thought. He remembers thinking he could leave his past behind him. Realizing that this punishment might be what he deserves, the scene shifts to a vision of him facing Rain himself. And back in the present, Rain takes a heavy blow. Kasai demands to know why Rain took the hit for him. Rain just grins, saying he's the one who dragged him into this mess, and it would be a shame to let him die so soon. The monster mocks his sacrifice, noting Rain could have won alone. Kasai can only hold the wounded assassin as Sung Min's soul declares them both finished. Our boy just can't seem to catch a break, can he? His mind flashes back to all the death he's been forced to watch, a life defined by violence he could never escape. Starting when he joined a gang after his parents died, he thought that if he just became stronger, he could finally change his own future. But looking back, he realizes nothing has changed. He's still just that same terrified kid inside. A voice in his head asks him what he truly wants. And as he kneels in the darkness of his own mind, the answer comes with a burning clarity. He wants power. The power to destroy men like Sung Min, sadistic monsters who thrive on the suffering of others. He decides that some people just don't deserve a do-over. A voice echoes in his mind, questioning his desire for power. It tells him to reach deep into the abyss of his soul and wield the power of a monstrous entity within. A new symbol burns in his palm, a contract being forged, and in a flash of light, he embraces his old title, the Reaper. Kasai is stunned by the sudden surge of energy. He realizes these guns appeared from nothing, just like Rain's katana. Sung Min's soul roars, seeing that the kid is finally adapting. But he declares that this is where Kasai's new life ends, just as Rain rejoins the fight with a devastating blood art technique. Sung Min's soul is confused as the blood attack simply vanishes. Rain kneels, smirking through the pain, asking if Kasai wanted the kill. He tells him to go ahead and take it himself, challenging Kasai to finish the job. Kasai raises one of his newly formed weapons, crackling with power. He grips the handle, a strange mechanism clicking into place. Our boy can barely comprehend the power now in his hands. He unleashes a massive blast of golden energy, tearing through the skyscraper toward the monster below. The attack connects, engulfing Sung Min's soul in a fiery blast. Kasai is consumed by the golden light, a surge of power that even leaves Rain stunned. The blast rips through the soul realm with devastating force. Back in the physical world, Selena can only stare in disbelief. She's never seen a soul density this immense. Rain just smirks, enjoying his "I told you so" moment. Sung Min's soul form begins to disintegrate, realizing too late that the kid had some serious potential. But even as he fades, he taunts Kasai, saying the past is inescapable. He reminds him of his old crew, claiming they're the ones who made him, a final chilling promise that the past will return. Selena's drone reports a problem as Rain orders their extraction. Kasai stands alone, his expression hardening with resolve. He closes his eyes, declaring that this chapter is over, and in an instant, he's back in his own body. He sits up to find Rain and Selena also on the floor. So much for a graceful return, but Sung Min's words trigger a painful memory. A beaten man from his past sneers at him, recalling the day he joined his old crew, and Kasai knows his life was forever changed by that choice. Kasai checks on Rain, who seems lost in thought. Rain just smiles, saying his soul is a little battered, but he'll be fine. Kasai can only offer a hesitant word of agreement, but their quiet moment is shattered by a loud banging. The police are at the door, and Rain realizes this was the problem Selena warned him about. Kasai freezes, his mind racing at the sound of the authorities. He confronts them, demanding to know if they're even official agents. As Selena lifts the injured Rain, Kasai wonders if he just sided with criminals, but Rain cuts him off, saying, "There's no time for an ethics debate." Selena slaps a mask on Kasai's face, confirming that, yes, they are absolutely running from the police. Selena scoffs, asking if he really thinks they'll just wait around to be arrested. She tells him to do as he pleases but wishes him luck, explaining the soul realm to the local police. Kasai lifts his mask, realizing she has a very good point. He glances back at the terrible scene, cursing the impossible situation, the kind couple who showed him nothing but warmth, and he can't help but feel responsible for their fate. But Selena snaps him out of it, demanding to know if he's coming. Just as the police finally breach the door, weapons raised. The lead officer stops dead, his expression shifting to one of shock. The lead officer curses, certain he heard someone in the room, but another officer spots 3 figures escaping across the rooftops. The lead officer radios for backup, his eyes fixed on the suspects. Down below, the patrol car speeds to the scene, its occupants confused. They can only wonder how they're supposed to catch rooftop runners as Kasai and his new associates make a daring leap across the gap. Kase lands hard, already getting the hang of this whole parkour thing. He takes the lead, sprinting across the roof with newfound confidence, but a projectile suddenly flies right past his head. He ducks just in time, his eyes widening at the close call. The police don't hesitate to open fire on the rooftop. Rain seems less than impressed with their shoot-first policy. He calls out to Selena for some much-needed assistance, and she's already on it, moving with incredible speed as another volley of shots rings out from below. But the bullets are stopped cold by a spinning blade, slicing through the projectiles with impossible precision. The officer can only stare, stunned by her incredible skill. The trio continues their escape across the city skyline. Rain complains about their situation, but Selena is clearly the adult in the room. Rain can't help but compliment Kasai's natural talent for evasion. But Kasai is furious, yelling that his new life is ruined because of them. Selena simply ignores him, pointing out their safe house is just below. And with a cheerful shout, Rain leaps off the building with Kasai in tow. The two of them plummet toward the dark alley below, aiming for a soft landing in a conveniently placed dumpster. Kasai and Selena peek out, looking thoroughly unimpressed. They quickly decide on their next move. Kasai steps out, his patience clearly wearing thin. He demands to know the escape plan, questioning their professionalism. Rain just smirks as Selena activates a device. She reveals a hidden entrance in the floor. Rain jokes that he's never been inside one before. Selena explains that the Soul Hunter Association has safe houses all over the city, and Keisai is less than impressed with their current accommodations. But Selena explains that's because they haven't actually arrived at the safe house yet. So this is just the sketchy foyer. Got it? The entire room begins to shake violently as Rain warns him to brace himself for the ride because this safe house is apparently also an elevator. The elevator plummets downward at a terrifying speed. It finally comes to a stop, the doors opening into a stone chamber. Rain seems to have enjoyed the ride, while his companions look less than thrilled. A new face greets them, looking on with a serious expression. As the elevator descends into a massive underground complex, and a man with fiery red hair is not happy to see them, Rain explains that their injured comrade Haru is still alive, for now. The man Leo orders them to get Haru to medical attention immediately. His gaze then falls on Keisai, demanding to know who he is. Selena explains he's the bystander who helped, a skilled fighter with an incredible soul density. Leo's interest is piqued by Keisai's high soul density. Rain notes that a compliment from Selena is rare indeed. Leo grins, acknowledging that Keisai must be something special, but he suddenly pulls a gun on their injured comrade, Haru. Keisai can only stare in complete disbelief. Haru realizes with dawning horror that her own teammates have set her up. Leo tells her not to take it personally, so much for team spirit. He declares that her soul is filthy and must be purged, and without hesitation, he pulls the trigger. Selena can only watch her face a mask of cold resolve. Rain too seems completely unfazed by the betrayal. Leo just smirks, the smoke curling from his lips. But the shot never finds its mark because Keisai's eyes are burning with a new light, and in a flash, he grabs the weapon with a powerful grip. He twists, delivering a kick with blinding speed, disarming the red-haired man in a single fluid motion. Guess he's not a fan of workplace violence. Leo seems more amused than angry by the attack. He admits that the kid is definitely not bad. Keisai lands in a defensive stance, the gun now in his hand. With glowing eyes, he raises the weapon and takes aim at the man who just betrayed his own teammate. But Leo just smirks, genuinely impressed by the kid's speed. Keisai's gaze is locked, his resolve unwavering. But in a flash, Leo grabs his wrist with a powerful grip. He notes that such a fast move left Keisai's hold weak. The gun is sent flying from his grasp. So much for that advantage. Leo grins, challenging the boy to show him what he's really made of, and Keisai answers with a furious barrage of strikes. Leo calmly assesses Keisai's flurry of attacks. He notes the military precision behind the boy's form, but Keisai breaks through, landing a punch and grabbing the gun. He takes aim again, his patience completely gone. In a flash, Leo dodges the shot and closes the distance. Keisai's shock is met with Leo's confident smirk. The red-haired man grabs the weapon, stopping him cold. He racks the slide, disarming it before Keisai can even react, and with a swift kick, he sends the gun flying from his grasp. It shatters against the hard stone floor. Keisai roars, refusing to be taken down so easily. He flips through the air, bringing the gun down like a hammer. Leo simply watches as the attack descends, but Keisai's strike only shatters the stone floor. He looks up in shock, realizing his opponent is gone. Leo stands nearby, casually remarking on the good workout. He admits he now understands why Selena was so impressed. Keisai can only glare as Leo tells him the fun is over. He raises his own weapon, saying this club has a strict entry policy. And with a deafening blast, he executes his own teammate Haru. Leo scoffs at Keisai's defiance, telling him to move, but Rain steps in, reminding Leo that they owe each other their lives. He suggests they can deal with Keisai after seeing his soul density. The red-haired man glares down, considering the proposition. He finally relents, putting his hands up in mock surrender. But Rain reveals that Keisai is on a target list for his old gang ties. Keisai doesn't deny it, admitting he was part of Yamura's crew, but he insists he left that life behind him over a year ago. Rain vouches for him, noting he'd already taken down Xiong-min, but Leo turns to Selena for confirmation, much to Rain's snack-fueled outrage. Selena confirms that Keisai helped take down Xiong-min, but she still doesn't trust him, demanding to know why they were fighting. Keisai explains that in his old life, no one ever left the crew alive. A flashback shows the brutal reality of that rule. He reveals he tried to hide his location before defecting, but Sung-min was a relentless and effective hunter, and it didn't take long for his past to catch up with him. His intense gaze shows the weight of that memory. So much for a quiet university life. Rain steps in, vouching for Kasai's incredible performance in the soul realm. He argues that Kasai has earned a chance at redemption as one of them. Leo grins, amused that Rain is actually vouching for someone. He scoffs at the very idea of redemption. He turns to Kasai asking where he got his special ops training. Learning Yamra was his mentor, Leo assumes they must be close. He then asks if Kasai is close enough to kill him. The question hangs in the air, a direct challenge to our boy. A memory flashes of a broken child, all too aware of the suffering Yamra has caused. He knows that a man like that doesn't deserve a second chance. Kasai's voice is firm as he says he could do it if he had to, but Leo lights a cigar, clearly not convinced by the answer. Leo mocks Kasai's hesitation, asking why he's here if he won't kill, but Kasai finally reveals the truth of his past. He explains that someone stole his parents' souls, a story no one ever believed. He admits he even thought he was crazy and now needs to learn about their world. Leo asks if he plans to hunt this soul stealer but says they only destroy souls, not capture them. Kasai doesn't care, his eyes burning with a new fire. He clenches his fist, declaring that any information would be enough. Leo flicks his cigar, conceding that the kid's skills are decent, but he warns that in their line of work, that's only half the battle. He walks forward saying before he decides Kasai's fate, he needs to see how Kasai handles himself in the soul realm. He leads them into a vast futuristic training facility. Kasai looks around, completely overwhelmed by the scale of it all. A technician explains the pods are ethereal chambers for safe soul simulations. Leo puts it more simply. They can spar without the risk of actually dying. He tells the tech to set up a fun environment for 2 participants. Leo smirks, clearly enjoying his role as the final boss of HR. The matchup is announced, Kasai versus Selena. And just like that, our boy's confidence completely evaporates. As Kasai protests, Leo coldly reminds him to be grateful he's even getting a choice. Selena delivers a sharp slap telling him to get over it. Kasai rubs his cheek realizing he has 2 choices. He can either join the Soul Hunters or be executed by Leo, but he realizes they have a common enemy in Yamra. And by joining them, he could finally avenge the Chos. Besides, even if he managed to escape this place, he'd be a wanted man after the night's events. Not a great look for university, and this is his only chance to learn more about souls and find the truth about what happened to his parents. Leo smirks, recognizing that the kid is finally in. Leo gives the signal and the simulation begins. Kasai and Selena are plunged into the virtual world. His senses are overwhelmed by the sudden transition. He finds himself falling through a strange digital corridor. He lands in a long hallway wondering about the endless doors. Selena appears sarcastically thanking Leo for the fun setting. She tells him to summon his weapon, but Kasai admits he has no idea how. She sighs, clearly unimpressed with the newbie's lack of training. She decides this test will be over quickly, summoning a massive rifle. Kasai can only offer a strained smile realizing he's completely outmatched. He dives for cover begging for just a moment to breathe, but Selena reminds him that real enemies won't wait. She takes aim, her eyes glowing with focus, only to find that her target has completely vanished. Back in the control room, Rain seems to be enjoying the show. Kasai is using the randomly connected doors to his advantage. She realizes the simulation is giving the newbie a handicap. So this is what they call a fair fight, but he's still pinned down by her relentless assault. He peeks through the damage, realizing she's firing pure energy, an energy that feels strangely familiar to the power he just unlocked. He wonders how to get those powerful guns back. For now, he'll have to buy some time to figure it out. If he can't win with power, he'll have to use his wits. He tries to distract her, asking about her history with Leo. He guesses that the red-haired man must be like a father to her, but Selena corrects him saying Leo is simply her mentor. Kasai smirks, doubting she'd be so loyal to just any mentor. She admits that he's right, her expression hardening. A flashback reveals Leo saved her as a child, and she owes him everything. And to repay that debt, she became the greatest marksman she could be. She unleashes a powerful blast of energy from her rifle. Kasai realizes that to survive, he must become a soul hunter, but her attack only tears through the empty hallway. He mocks her, asking if she's really the best shooter around, because from his new position, he finds that claim pretty funny. He flashes a confident grin, pointing out she can't even hit him. Back in the control room, Leo can't help but laugh at the kid's audacity. But Selena is not amused, calling him a child as she takes aim again. She unleashes a flurry of shots that ricochet through the corridor. Leo notes that while Kasai is fast, Selena is just toying with him. Leo just watches, enjoying the chaos he's created. But inside the simulation, Kasai is a blur of motion. He taunts Selena, asking if she trained her whole life for Leo's approval. He dives through her attacks, declaring his hatred for people who live only for someone else. The words hit their mark and her focus wavers for an instant. Kasai uses the opening to close the distance between them, but she's ready for him, bringing her rifle up to defend. He slams his fist into the weapon with a furious roar, only to be sent flying by a point-blank blast. He digs his fingers into the floor, calling her a hypocrite. With a furious glare, he pushes himself back to his feet. Selena approaches, questioning his desperate search for answers. She asks if he's really doing all of this for himself, but Kasai is already moving, rushing her with blinding speed. She calmly meets his charge, mocking his lost nerve. He stares down the barrel of her weapon completely unafraid, and she unleashes another devastating blast of energy. The attack sends him flying, a brutal direct hit. She scoffs, asking if he ever really stood a chance. She reveals that while he was playing games, she was memorizing every path. She gave him all the time in the world to summon his weapon, but admits that Rain was right about one thing. He definitely has guts. A voice in his head asks if he's really going to give up now. As he falls through the darkness of his own mind, the voice calls him a failure. He's haunted by the faces of those he couldn't protect or avenge. He sinks into the abyss, so close to the answers he's been searching for. But from the depths, a new power reaches out to him. His eyes snap open with renewed fire, declaring this fight isn't over, and a monstrous power from within answers his call. The entire simulation shatters around them. As a pillar of pure energy erupts from Kasai, Selena can only stare, completely stunned by the display. Back in the real world, the system is going haywire. The technician panics, saying his power is off the charts. He can't believe what he's seeing. As Rain learns, Kasai's soul density is over 56,000, a number only ever reached by Leo himself, so much for an entry-level position. But back in the simulation, Selena has a more immediate problem because Kasai has taken on a terrifying new form. The technician calls for control as the simulation shatters. Selena demands to know what's happening as Kasai reveals a monstrous new appearance. Rain's companion wonders if this is a soul ignition, but Rain says no. Leo can still sense Kasai's soul, but there's another presence. Kasai stands transformed, a dark power radiating from him. He lunges forward with incredible speed. Selena raises her rifle, doubting he can close the distance, but he's already on her before she can even fire. Her eyes widen in shock at his impossible speed. She brings her weapon down with crushing force, but Kasai catches the blow, his landing shattering the floor. He flips backward, countering with a powerful kick. Selena dodges, her own eyes glowing with intensity. She throws a punch that seems to tear through the air itself. The impact creates a massive explosion of pure energy. So much for a simple sparring match. She realizes with dawning horror that he's not just faster. His strength and stamina are constantly increasing. Kasai unleashes another devastating blast of power, and Selena finally understands how he's moving so fast. The doors. He unleashes a devastating volley from his new soul weapons, but Selena counters with a powerful technique of her own. The two attacks collide in a massive blinding explosion. Their eyes lock, neither one willing to back down an inch. The blast tears through the simulation, shattering the ground beneath them. Kasai's expression is unreadable, his power completely inhuman. He's sent flying through the void, the arena now in ruins. Back in the control room, the team panics, unable to locate Selena's soul, so much for a safe simulation. But through the smoke, she lets out a ragged breath. She can only marvel at his insane firepower, admitting her best attack wasn't enough. She realizes she only survived by defending at the last second. She's never faced this level of raw power before. He's moving on pure animalistic instinct. Selena unleashes another powerful energy blast. But Kasai is already a blur of motion, countering with a furious volley of his own. So Selena decides to bring out the big guns, literally, but his new form is easily distracted by a glowing object. She uses the opening to land a powerful blow and rips the strange entity right from his soul. She delivers a brutal kick, declaring she has to end this now. The impact sends a shock wave of golden energy through the void. Back in the control room, Rain's companion realizes her rifle was just a feint. Leo explains she hid her soul signature to get in close, concluding that while Kasai has power, Selena has technique. Guess we know who he's betting on. And in a battle between raw power and skill, Selena dodges a furious volley of attacks, but Kasai's monstrous form lets out a final desperate roar, unleashing a massive pillar of pure, untamed energy. The simulation is completely overwhelmed by the blast. Kasai's monstrous form falters, struggling to stay upright. But Selena declares that technique will always win, telling him to be a good boy and stay down. She unleashes a final devastating blast of energy. Back in the control room, the team can only watch as he falls. The strange entity begs for Kasai's life, but Selena's bedside manner is lacking. She unleashes another volley of shots to pin him down. As the blast converge, Leo finally calls an end to the test. But Selena can only stare in utter disbelief because Kasai has just unleashed a massive counterattack. Selena realizes his spiritual energy is now even stronger. In the control room, Rain screams for her to get out, but it's too late as she's caught in the blast. The two attacks collide in a devastating explosion. Kasai's monstrous form struggles to stay standing, but Selena unleashes a new volley of attacks. The energy spikes find their mark, piercing him, but even impaled, his eyes burn with defiance. Selena closes in to deliver the final blow. She lands a devastating kick, shattering the arena. Selena stands over him, admitting that Leo was right about his potential for destruction. Her eyes glow as she prepares to unleash her ultimate power, soul ignition. But a hand suddenly grabs her weapon, stopping her cold. Leo and Rain have entered the simulation, putting an end to the fight. Leo grins, telling her there will be no killing today. He says she's found a stray with some serious potential. He looks down at Kasai, admitting he needs some fine-tuning. But to defeat Yamra, a man responsible for so much suffering, they'll need a monster of their own on their side. Meanwhile, back in the real world, their injured teammate Haru is undergoing emergency surgery. Rain sits alone, admitting his deep-seated hatred for hospitals. He scoffs at the empty promises of hope they always offer, because no matter what, the outcome is never in your control. A woman bursts in, desperately asking for news of their comrade, but her expression is already one of deep regret as she apologizes. Rain looks up, his face a mask of stoic dread. She confirms his worst fears. Their friend didn't make it, and another life is lost under his watch. The scene shifts to a briefing for a new mission, Operation Naraka. A new face, Carrie Wolf, seems thoroughly bored by the proceedings. Guest rank 2 hunters have seen it all. Another hunter, Ashley Johnson, tells Carrie to be nice. Rain chimes in, telling Carrie to make a good impression, while the rank 1 hunter, Vikram Khan, calmly tells her to quiet down. The NYPD chief, Jason White, asks about their new recruit, and Kasai Mura, now a rank S hunter, introduces himself. Leo begins the briefing, explaining Kasai's recruitment is key. He reveals that Kasai was once part of Yamra's inner circle, which earns him some very intense looks from his new co-workers. Rain vouches for him, saying he was crucial in Seung Min's assassination, but Carrie scoffs, doubting this wimp could have done it. But Kasai interrupts the briefing with a question for Leo. He wants to know why the NYPD chief is here, considering they were just running from his officers. The chief explains that after 4 people died in the East Village, he's exactly where he needs to be. He lays the blame squarely on Kasai, asking how many more will fall because of him. Kasai can only ask if this is all leading to his arrest. The chief scoffs, saying if he had his way, Kasai's fate would be much worse. But he smiles, explaining the NYPD and Soul Hunters have a special partnership, for the greater good. So no, he's not here to arrest him for now. A voice from the crowd mocks their progress, calling Kasai Yamra's dog. Leo ignores the jab and continues, revealing Seung Min was one of Yamra's top executioners. Leo continues, outlining the known hierarchy of Yamra's organization. But Kasai interrupts, declaring their intel is completely wrong. He explains that Ray the Devil died 3 years ago, and the true second in command was Yamra's son, Anjin. The name seems to ring a bell for Leo. Kasai clarifies that Anjin disappeared over a decade ago, but Carrie isn't buying it, questioning their trust in a former criminal. Rain argues that if Kasai gets them even 1 step closer, he's worth it. Ashley points out the obvious risk of him being a double agent, but Selena disagrees, noting that destroying a comrade's soul is a line few would cross. She argues that destroying a soul is a serious act, and Vikram agrees, finding his immense soul density suspicious for a newcomer. He points to the footage of Kasai's berserk state, doubting his claim of amnesia and suggesting it was his true nature. Kasai finally speaks up, tired of the cold shoulder. Vikram tells him to earn their gratitude. Kasai retorts that he must be fun at parties, but his comment earns him a gun in the face from another hunter. The tense standoff is interrupted by another agent with a massive blade. Kasai just smirks, offering to take the fight outside. Rain sighs, complaining that he always has to defend this idiot, but Leo calls for order, telling them there will be no fighting in the room. He announces his decision to put his faith in Kisai for the time being. He asks if anyone has a problem and the hunters fall silent. But Kisai has one condition before he agrees to help. He wants to retrieve a memento of his parents from his apartment. Leo just grins, calling the kid soft. Kasai simply says that when it comes to family, he can't refuse. Leo agrees, assigning Selena, Ashley, and Carrie to escort him. And once Kasai has what he needs, the real hunt will finally begin. A memory flashes of a past confrontation. A voice recalls how Kasai didn't even flinch at gunpoint. A new hunter with two-toned hair smirks, calling the kid crazy but with heart. He sits by an unconscious woman's bedside, telling her she would have liked him. His expression darkens as he admits that many of his colleagues have been dying. He's tired of watching them all fall. Back in the present, Selena leads Kasai, vowing not to let him suffer the same fate. Kasai asks if the others are coming, but Selena says they're not because 2 other hunters are waiting below, ready to take him out if he tries to run. Kasai sarcastically notes their trust, and Selena confirms they have none. Yeah. No kidding. Kasai steps forward, finally back at his apartment building. He finds his door sealed with police tape. So much for a quiet return. He's completely exhausted, just wanting this day to be over. He puts the key in the lock, ready to retrieve his memento, but his eyes narrow, a flicker of suspicion crossing his face. He has no idea what's waiting for him on the other side because his apartment is filled with Yamura's masked thugs. The door flies open and the ambush is sprung, but they are the ones who are surprised. The lead thug can only stare as his men are taken down. As Kasai delivers a punch that shatters both mask and bone, the thug is sent crashing through the wall. He lands amidst the wreckage, cursing his terrible luck because 2 more masked goons are already taking aim. He just laughs, asking if they could please stop destroying his apartment. But just as the thug takes aim, a new player joins the fight. It's Carrie, and she neutralizes the threat with ruthless efficiency. The last man standing can only stare in shock as Kasai lunges forward. He brings the final attacker down with a furious strike. A bullet flies past her, but she doesn't even flinch. She just turns to Kasai, telling him he was almost too slow. He apologizes for the damage he's about to cause, promising to make it up to the last thug. By sending him straight through the floor, Kasai asks if that's everyone, and Carrie confirms it is. She smirks, asking if they were friends of his. Kasai can only offer an awkward denial. He explains they were Yamura's grunts sent to finish the job. As he searches for his memento, Carrie documents the mess. She spots a poster, surprised he's a normal college student after all. He ignores her, opening a box and asking for a moment. He pulls out a golden pendant on a simple cord, a memory of his 6th birthday, a gift from his parents, the happiest day of his young life, now a bittersweet reminder. He clutches it to his chest, feeling closer to them than ever. Carrie watches from a distance, hoping the risk was worth it, but her eyes suddenly widen with alarm as a massive energy beam tears through the window. She tackles Kasai to the ground, complaining that this trip is already not worth the trouble. She pins him down, telling him to stay low and out of sight because somewhere out there a sniper has them in their sights. Another blast tears through the room, narrowly missing Carrie. She holds Kasai down as the shot passes right between them. The energy sizzles, cracking the wall just inches from their faces. She's furious, demanding to know who else is after him. But Kasai already has a pretty good idea who it is. From a rooftop nearby, a new player scoffs at the interference. It's Shark, Naraka's top marksman, and he's here for Kasai. He takes aim, declaring they have a score to settle. The scene flashes back to a younger Kasai being thrown against a wall. A younger Shark grabs him, sneering about his place in Yamura's crew. Shark sneers, mocking Kasai's supposed arrogance. 5 years ago, he raged about trying to join Yamura's inner circle. Kasai calmly admits that Shark is a skilled killer, but he questions why Yamura would trust someone so easily bought. Back in the present, Shark finds it ironic that Kasai was the traitor, saying he'd have done it for free. He spots the other two hunters running across the rooftops below, and without hesitation, he takes aim and fires. Carrie and Ashley can only stare in shock at the sudden attack. The blast tears through the building, sending Shark flying. He plummets through the air, completely caught off guard, but Carrie is already there to meet him with a brutal kick. Ashley recognizes their attacker as Shark, a fact Carrie confirms. Ashley seems impressed by his moves, much to Carrie's annoyance. She declares that she's going to be the one to take him down. Shark makes a run for it, complaining about his heavy gear. He lands hard on the rooftop below, using his rifle to clear a path as he escapes. He leaps from the building, dropping a bag as a decoy. It lands harmlessly in a dumpster below. So much for that plan. As he smashes through a window, taking the fight inside, Ashley can only stare, impressed by the incredible leap. He calls out to Carrie, suggesting they circle around to cut off the escape, but she's already making a daring leap of her own. She smashes through the window, taking the direct approach. Ashley just grins, deciding he'll just take the stairs, like a normal person. Down on the street, Kasai demands to know who their attacker was. He explains that Shark is an assassin he grew up with, one of the world's best sharpshooters. A memory reveals that Shark was the one who taught him everything about firearms. He realizes that if Yamra sent Shark, they truly want him dead. And up above, Carrie is more than ready for the fight. Carrie remarks that his old friends seem pretty toxic. Inside, she chases Shark, asking for a quick break. The two of them race through the building's interior. Shark seems to agree, landing on a nearby table, but he immediately takes aim, ready to end the chase. Carrie realizes her mistake as she stares down the barrel. Guess he's not a fan of union-mandated breaks. He unleashes a massive blast of energy from his rifle. Carrie peeks out from behind the wreckage, unamused. The room is completely destroyed by the attack. She stands up, cursing her opponent's destructive tendencies. Shark continues his escape, heading down into the subway. Meanwhile, Leo sits with Vikram, who questions his choice to recruit Kasai. Vikram calls the kid erratic, wondering why Leo would trust an ex-convict. But Leo is unconcerned, saying he'll keep it quiet until the mission is over. Vikram is confused, thinking this was just a simple trip home for Kasai. Leo reminds him that after Sungmin's death, nothing would be simple. He grins, revealing this is all a test of Kasai's true allegiance. He adds that he can't always be there to vet every new recruit. So much for a welcoming HR department. Back in the chase, Shark makes it to the platform just in time, but he steps right into another group of thugs who wonder about Kasai's new friends. Shark checks his phone, his expression souring. The train doors slide shut, sealing him inside. He tries to send intel on Kasai's new allies, but has no service. He's furious that a subway can foil his high-tech mission. Guess some problems are universal. His eyes narrow, his frustration turning to resolve. But he's not the only one with an agenda on this train. A white-haired man asks if he's having trouble with his phone. Shark just grins, recognizing an old rival. He calculates he has 3 minutes until the train reaches the next stop, and his opponent has the same amount of time to stop him from revealing their secrets. Shark declares he only needs 1 minute to finish this. An assassination timer appears, counting down from 3.5 minutes. The scene flashes back to a much darker time. A man kneels, pleading for his life after crossing into Yamra's territory. He begs a younger bandaged Shark and his associates for mercy, but the young assassin's face is a mask of cold indifference. The man explains he was only trying to pay for his wife's medical bills. He screams, promising that he'll never be a problem again, but his pleas are met with a final brutal answer. Guess HR wasn't accepting sob stories that day. Their leader simply states that devils like them never change. The leader tells a younger bandaged Kasai to leave, while Shark is ordered to clean up the rest of the family. The young assassin stands amidst the brutal aftermath. He turns, surprised to find Kasai still there. The boy sits alone, clearly shaken by the events. He asks why Shark had to eliminate everyone. Shark scoffs, saying he thought they'd beaten that softness out of him. Kasai argues that the man's family had nothing to do with it, but Shark's expression only hardens with contempt, showing absolutely no remorse for his actions. He explains their job is to silence anyone who challenges Yamra. He warns the young Kasai that empathy is the killer of killers, a lesson he tells him to learn before it gets him killed. He grabs the boy, claiming that everything they do is for the sake of family. Back in the present, the two assassins face off on the moving train. Ashley knows he has to stop Shark before he opens fire, but Shark just grins, confident that social distancing is on his side. Ashley scans the car looking for any kind of distraction. He needs something that will make every single person look away. And just then, a new passenger walks by giving him an idea. Shark's eyes widen, wondering if another hunter is on the train. Ashley stands with a mysterious woman, wondering about her plan. She suddenly grabs him by the collar and pulls him into a very public display of affection. Shark can only stare, completely caught off guard. And just like that, every eye in the car is on them as the train doors slide shut, plunging them all into the darkness of the tunnel because nothing makes people look away like a sudden makeout session. And in that moment of distraction, she makes her move. In the darkness, Carrie unleashes a powerful kick. Shark can only roar in fury as her foot connects. He's sent flying backward with a heavy thud, and he looks up to find himself completely cornered. Ashley moves in, grabbing the phone from his hand. He crushes the device, ending the transmission for good. Guess the warranty doesn't cover that. Shark can only glare, his mission a total failure. Ashley follows up with a brutal punch to the face. A memory flashes of Shark thinking his rival had finally lost his empathy. But Ashley's voice echoes back, calling him the same soft-hearted kid he'd always been. Carrie holds him in a powerful grip, her eyes blazing with fury. Ashley can only watch, his own expression hardening. From Shark's fading perspective, his rival looms over him. But even defeated, the assassin's glare is pure venom. As the train pulls into the station, the fight is officially over. So much for a quiet commute. Shark slumps over, completely out of commission. Ashley catches his breath, the adrenaline finally wearing off. The defeat triggers another memory of his past with Kasai. Ashley admits that taking down a top-tier assassin wasn't exactly easy, but Carrie is already on to the next problem, telling Kasai their mission has just begun. Ashley tells a hesitant Kasai they have no other choice. He explains that if they don't stop Shark now, his soul will just reincarnate into something worse. Kasai listens, his expression hardening with resolve. Ashley explains that since Kasai is new to this, he'll act as the watcher. He'll stay behind to guard their physical bodies on the train. Kasai closes his eyes, preparing for his second soul jump. And with the chugging of the train, his consciousness shifts. He finds himself back in the soul realm, ready for the mission. His target is clear, to execute Shark's soul once and for all, but Shark's soul seems almost wistful, remarking on the strange destination. He recalls a carnival at the beach just outside the city, a memory of a rare moment of peace with his old crew. But he knows he'll never see that paradise again because Kasai has delivered him straight to hell. His soul's true form is a monstrous beast calling out his old friend's name. Kasai tells him he's hurt too many people. The beast scoffs, asking if Kasai thinks he's some kind of hero now. He accuses Kasai of turning his back on his own family. He can't believe he was defeated by the kid he once mentored, but as his soul weapon appears, the time for talk is over. Kasai's rage boils over at the hypocrisy. The monster lunges forward in a desperate charge. Kasai can only watch, caught off guard by the speed. If he's going down, he's determined to take Kasai down with him. But Kasai remembers his old mentor's tactics. He always went for the legs first, a classic move. He stops the attack with a powerful grip. He pins the beast, recognizing the familiar style. The monster glares back, asking if he remembers the time he forced a terrified child to dance. He made examples of his enemy's children with a smile. Kasai remembers the hypocrisy of his words about family, as Shark never cared for anyone outside his own circle. It's a memory that still haunts the young Kasai. He declares he won't give him the chance to hurt anyone else. With a powerful swing, he vows that it all ends here, but the beast just scoffs, refusing to be killed a second time. Carrie's drone asks why he's holding a subway bar instead of his guns. As Selena chimes in, Kasai blames it on performance anxiety. The beast unleashes a massive torrent of soul energy. Kasai can only stare as Selena's drone offers more advice. He uses the pole to deflect the barrage of attacks and screams her name in pure frustration. The monster mocks him, telling him to dance for his life. Another blast of energy tears through the subway car. Kasai is sent flying amidst the chaotic explosions. He blocks a strike, but the beast warns him it's over. But Kasai has had enough of the taunts. He brings the pole down with furious intent. He swings the makeshift weapon with all his might, smashing it against the monster's attack. With a powerful grip, he pushes forward and delivers a brutal punch of his own. The beast seems surprised by this sudden turn, but Kasai's fist connects with a devastating impact. The monster stumbles back, clearly feeling the blow. Kasai leaps into the air, ready to bring the fight to a close. But Shark's soul form unleashes a new disgusting attack. Guess that's one way to use your tongue. Kasai meets it head-on, driving the pole straight through. Kasai's eyes burn with a furious resolve. The beast unleashes another blast of pure energy, but Kasai uses its own attack as a ramp, shattering his makeshift weapon with the impact. The resulting explosion tears through the subway car. He's thrown back, his arm transforming from the strain. The monster marvels at how natural this new body feels. He realizes this power was always a part of him, so this is what he looks like on the inside. Kasai retorts that this is just his soul's true form, and in that moment he has a terrifying realization about himself. A voice reminds him that accessing his power should be natural, that his soul form is his true self across all lifetimes. And as he reaches inward, his soul finally remembers. The monster grins, glad to see his opponent is no longer afraid because he wants to face Kasai at his absolute best. The makeshift pole is sent flying through the blast. Back in the physical world, the train pulls into the station. 2 new hunters arrive, confirming they're in the right place. They spot the trio with the woman noting their lack of subtlety. Carrie explains that her drone was taken out, leaving Kasai to fight alone. The new hunters offer to jump in, but Ashley shuts them down. She explains that while Leo and Rain believe in Kasai's potential, this is a test to see if he can truly kill his old comrades. Meanwhile, Kasai unleashes a furious barrage of attacks. He realizes that even with a higher soul density, he can only channel a fraction of that power into his weapons, which means his output is currently matching Shark's blow for blow. But with no training, he has no idea how to increase his firepower. The beast is suddenly caught off guard by a cloud of smoke. A new player appears explaining the real challenge is the realm itself. Ashley explains that the soul realm is a living dynamic place. And as the world around them shifts into a rushing waterfall, he warns that you either evolve with it or you get left behind. Kasai screams in frustration, still trying to get the hang of all this. But his eyes narrow with a new resolve. He unleashes a powerful blast of his own, finally summoning his weapons. But Shark's soul form is a living weapon, an Atlantis rifle. It unleashes a devastating barrage of energy blasts, so much for a fair fight. And with every foot of distance between them, Shark's advantage as a sniper only grows stronger. Kasai knows that if Shark gets a clean shot, it's all over. But he also knows the best way to beat a sniper is to get right in his face. The monster is stunned by his sudden acceleration. Kasai's golden energy tears through the barrage of attacks. The beast roars, calling him reckless for the direct charge, but Kasai's fist connects with a brutal impact. He follows up with a powerful spinning kick, sending the beast reeling from the blow. Our boy presses the advantage, his eyes burning with resolve. The beast unleashes a massive blast of blue energy, but Kasai meets it with a golden torrent of his own. Back in the physical world, the team watches the clash unfold in a battle of raw power. The one with the higher output is the one who will walk away, and Kasai is determined to be the winner. The 2 attacks collide in a devastating explosion, and through the smoke, the monster still stands. Ashley panics, demanding Selena send him in to help. He argues that this test has gone on long enough, but Carrie finally understands why Leo was so interested. She's only seen this kind of power once before, and the other hunter remembers it all too well. She explains that when Kasai's soul is in danger, his energy output skyrockets to unbelievable levels, and their job is to figure out what that power truly is. As a massive skeletal entity begins to form around him, a voice echoes from the golden beast, finally breaking its silence. A timer appears, giving them less than 2 minutes. No pressure or anything. The entity speaks directly to Kasai, glad he's finally arrived. Kasai's eyes snap open with a golden glow. The entity mocks him for siding with the soul hunters. He recognizes the voice from his mind and demands its identity. The hooded figure reveals a shocking truth. It is him. It explains that across lifetimes, it is the one constant. In other words, is just its current reincarnation. He asks if this being is his soul, a realization dawning. He remembers his berserk form, realizing it was this entity. The entity confirms it as Kisai yells that his body is his own. But the soul just laughs, saying he should be more grateful. So much for a friendly inner monologue. The entity claims that without its power, they'd have been destroyed long ago. It warns that Kasai must learn to wield their power or they will both perish. It explains his guns are its infinity cannons, which channel his soul density into raw power. While most souls have a set density, it says they are different. It explains that drawing on its power increases his soul density, which then boosts his output. Talk about a positive feedback loop. Kasai finally understands why Rain said his soul density was skyrocketing. He asks if it took over during the fight with Selena, and the entity confirms it was only at 10% control. A vision of his berserk form appears, a hint of his true potential. The entity boasts that at full power, Selena wouldn't have lasted a second. It explains it's far from its original strength, asking why he thinks it hasn't taken over completely. The entity reveals it's still wounded from a battle in a past life. It needs Kasai to keep them safe while it recovers. Kasai asks why the soul hunters would be after them. The soul scoffs, saying it's because they're different. So much for a helpful spirit guide. It declares it's time for a crash course in soul combat. And with that, Kasai is plunged into the waterfall below. A mechanism clicks into place within his soul, unleashing a massive blast of golden energy. Shark's soul form looks up, surprised by this new development. The blast tears through the water with incredible force. Kasai's new form glares, clearly having a terrible day. He unleashes a massive blast of energy as Shark's soul roars in frustration. The attack pins the monster to the wall, but it's still not enough to end it. His new soul weapons materialize, crackling with golden power. The beast charges forward, declaring this is the final battle, but the soul realm shifts again because, of course, it does. Kasai fires another blast, determined to end this quickly. Back on the train, the other hunters watch in horror as the energy spikes. The female hunter realizes their time is almost up. The reincarnation cycle is beginning, threatening to pull Kasai in with it. The new hunter argues they should pull Kasai out now, but Ashley tells her to stop, letting the test play out. Back in the soul realm, Kasai admits his soul is far from pure. He understands their distrust, wondering about his past lives. But if this is his one chance to do something good, he's determined to see it through to the very end. The monster roars back that there is no redemption for him. Kasai plants his foot, shattering the ground beneath him. The beast mirrors his stance, ready for the final clash. As they charge, Shark's soul screams that they're both going down together, and the clock is ticking with less than a minute to go. The scene flashes back to a younger Kasai, bloodied but defiant. Shark's voice echoes, calling him an ungrateful brat. He sneers that it's far too late for Kasai to wash his hands clean. Kasai insists that he doesn't belong in that world anymore, but Shark just smirks, saying he's only following the boss's orders. The two of them charge, their past selves locked in combat. And in the present, their souls do the very same. The monster brings its massive claw down with crushing force, but Kasai meets the blow, his golden weapon holding strong. Kasai's fist connects, sending the monster flying. The beast is thrown back by the sheer force of the blow. The scene flashes back to their younger selves, locked in a brutal, desperate struggle, a fight that echoed through the years between them. Back in the soul realm, Kasai unleashes a torrent of golden energy. In the past, Shark dodges a similar furious attack. He counters with a devastating kick of his own. Guess he wasn't a fan of Kasai's career change. A shard of a broken weapon clatters to the floor. The younger Shark stands over him, raging that he was forced to do this. Shark offers him one last chance to turn back and go home, but Kasai's eyes burn with resolve, knowing he can't do that. The two of them clash in a brutal, desperate fight. Their past selves are locked in a furious, bloody stalemate. And in the soul realm, Kasai unleashes a devastating slash. His arm crackles with a dark, untamed power. The beast meets the attack with a furious counter of its own. The impact sends a brutal shockwave through the soul realm. Both fighters are exhausted, but neither is willing to back down. With a final surge of power, Kasai lunges forward to end this. In the past, Kasai blocks a powerful kick from his former mentor, but Shark finds an opening, delivering a brutal strike. Kasai lets out a roar of pure agony. Shark grabs him, his own face a mask of fury. The two of them are sent flying from the impact, but Shark takes a heavy blow of his own. Kasai grabs his opponent, blade in hand. He unleashes a final desperate swing. His eyes burn with a cold, unwavering resolve, and Shark meets his gaze with equal intensity. The monster unleashes one final desperate attack, but it's met with a massive blast of golden energy. The beast roars, asking if Kasai will just kill him like he did Shang Min. He sneers that Yamura taught him well, turning him against his own family. The two attacks collide in a devastating explosion of power. Shark Soul calls him a gullible dog following whoever offers a convenience story. He asked what his new friends promised him to make him turn on his own. Guest loyalty programs have gotten really competitive. He wonders if Kasai ever considered that they just see him as a weapon. With a final roar, he asks if abandoning his family made him feel like a better man. But Kasai's eyes burn with a cold, unwavering resolve. He knows the soul hunters are just using him, but he also knows that they're right. The souls like his don't deserve a second chance. And with that acceptance, his eyes burn with a new light. The monster is caught in a torrent of raw power. As Kasai unleashes a final golden blast, a strange sigil glows on his weapon with seconds to spare. He taps into his old power, unleashing a Reaper art, a devastating technique called Pale Infinity. And just like that, the clock hits 0. In the void, Shark Soul asks if this is truly Kasai's choice. Kasai apologizes to his old friend June, but says he can't let him hurt anyone else. But June scoffs, reminding him that his hands are just as dirty. He asks why Kasai is the one who deserves a second chance. He warns that judgment is coming, especially now that someone has returned. He reveals he's talking about Yamra's true heir, a name that makes Kasai's blood run cold, Anjin. June promises that Anjin will hunt down Kasai and his new friends. Another soul appears as June says they'll be waiting for him on the other side. And with a final chilling farewell, his soul is finally erased. Kasai's eyes snap open, his mind still reeling from the fight. He sits up with a start, calling out his friend's name, but a new face greets him asking if he enjoyed his nap. The man explains this is the soul hunter's medical bay, and Kasai has been out for 5 days. Our boy is shocked, but the man reminds him that fighting a soul monster takes a lot out of you. Kasai looks down, the reality of his victory finally sinking in. He remembers the monstrous form of his old friend and the terrible power he had to unleash to stop him. The man confirms it, saying Shark Soul is gone for good. He tells Kasai not to feel guilty for what he had to do. The man reminds him that if he hadn't finished the job, countless others would have suffered at Shark's hands. Kasai knows this, his eyes shut tight, but the man agrees that it doesn't make the choice any easier. Kasai spots a bouquet asking if it's a get-well gift from him, but a flashback reveals it was from Selena in a very direct way. The man explains she felt guilty for sending him in alone, and in the end, she was the one who pulled him out just moments before he was lost to the reincarnation cycle. The man just smiles, glad that everything worked out in the end. So casual about near-permanent soul death. The man tells Kasai he's heading to a briefing, but our boy immediately asks if it's about Naraka. He refuses to stay behind, his eyes burning with a new resolve. The man just smirks, admitting he knew Kasai would insist. The door to the briefing room creaks open as 2 figures arrive late. Leo is less than thrilled to see Rain interrupting the meeting. Rain just grins, explaining that Kasai wanted to tag along. Kasai offers a quiet greeting to his new colleagues, but Ashley immediately pulls him into a hug, admitting he was completely wrong about him. Carrie agrees, saying his fight against Shark had them on the edge of their seats. The friendly banter continues, much to Kasai's awkward confusion. Guess this is what having co-workers is like. Ashley teases another hunter, telling him not to be jealous. Kasai turns, still processing this sudden welcome. A new hunter addresses him, guessing he's wondering why he fought alone, but Kasai cuts her off, saying he understands their distrust. He vows to keep proving himself to them and to himself that he can be a good person. His earnest declaration seems to resonate with her. Leo's unsettling grin appears, declaring Kasai looks healthy enough, but he gives a stern warning about being sent back to the medical bay. A condition Kasai accepts with a determined shout. Leo continues the briefing. 2 of Yamra's top men now crossed off their list, but on the other side of the city, someone is not taking the news well. In a lavish throne room, a leader learns that Kyungmin and June fell in just 1 week. A green-haired man reports directly to the imposing Lord Yamra. He reveals that just before his death, June sent a final message about Kasai's new allies. The text described a military-trained group in red and black outfits. He connects them to a mysterious band of vigilante assassins. And thanks to a tracker in June's bag, he has even more intel. Guess that decoy wasn't so useless after all. He presents a photo Shark took of the hunters arriving at Kasai's apartment, and Yamra realizes this is the same group his son, Anjin, had warned him about. A sinister grin spreads across Yamra's face as he finally names his enemies. He orders his men to share this new intel with their partners, who declare that if the soul hunters are coming for them, they'll just hunt them first.
Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.